Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you're left trying to decode signals instead of receiving direct communication? He doesn't text, but he's always online. He doesn't ask you out, but he lingers around, making indirect comments. That hint at interest. He disappears for days, only to return as if nothing happened, expecting you to pick up where things left off. This silent game, where one person avoids taking direct initiative while expecting the other to read between the lines, is both frustrating and emotionally exhausting. But why does it happen? The silent game is a common dynamic, particularly in modern dating, where ambiguity replaces clear communication. This phenomenon is not just a matter of personal preference. It often stems from deeper psychological and social factors. Some men in particular adopt this behavior as a means of testing interest, avoiding vulnerability, or simply because they have been conditioned to believe that expressing emotions directly is a sign of weakness. Others engage in it as a passive power play, keeping the other person in a constant state of anticipation, unsure of where they stand. One of the most confusing aspects of the silent game is its unpredictability. Unlike clear rejection, which allows closure, or enthusiastic pursuit, which fosters connection, this game keeps you in limbo. It makes you question your own perceptions, wonder if you're imagining things, and often places the burden of action on you. When someone avoids making moves yet still lingers in your space, liking your posts, watching your stories, occasionally sending vague messages, they create an illusion of interest without commitment. It's a dance of proximity without clarity, and it forces you to make all the moves while they merely react. In many cases, this behavior is unintentional. Some people simply struggle with emotional expression, while others have deep-seated fears of rejection that prevent them from taking initiative. Social conditioning has also played a role, particularly in men, teaching them that they should not be too eager or vulnerable. The idea that, if she really wants me, she'll make the effort, leads to an attitude of passivity, where they wait for validation instead of offering direct engagement. However, there are also those who use this game consciously, knowing that silence and ambiguity can be powerful tools of control. When someone keeps you guessing, they maintain a form of emotional leverage. If you're constantly trying to interpret their actions, waiting for their next move, or adjusting your behavior in response to their inconsistencies, then they hold the upper hand in the relationship dynamic. Regardless of the reasons behind the silent game, one thing remains true: it places emotional labor on the person trying to decode it. Instead of fostering healthy, open communication, it creates an environment of uncertainty, leaving one person doing all the work while the other avoids responsibility. But should relationships really function this way? Is it fair to always be the one making the effort? And most importantly, if someone truly wants to be with you, would they really need to be so silent about it? The silent game is not just a random behavior. It is deeply rooted in psychology, personal fears, and social conditioning. Many people, particularly men, adopt this passive approach not because they don't care, but because they have been shaped by certain beliefs about relationships, emotions, and self-worth. The lack of initiative and reliance on indirect signals can stem from several key psychological factors, including fear of rejection, avoidance tendencies, emotional conditioning, and even subconscious power dynamics. One of the most common reasons behind this behavior is fear of rejection. Many individuals struggle with the idea of being vulnerable and facing the possibility of not being wanted. Instead of expressing direct interest and taking the risk of hearing no, they opt for a more cautious approach, staying present without fully committing. This allows them to feel safe while still keeping a potential romantic connection open. If the other person takes initiative, they can interpret it as confirmation of mutual interest, without ever having to put themselves in a vulnerable position. Another reason is avoidant attachment styles, which cause individuals to withdraw emotionally, rather than openly engage. People with avoidant tendencies often crave connection but fear dependency or emotional intensity. As a result, they engage in relationships in a way that keeps the other person at arm's length, using silence as a defense mechanism. They may enjoy the attention, validation, and comfort of knowing someone is interested in them, but they resist fully stepping into the relationship because it threatens their sense of independence or triggers past fears of emotional closeness. Social conditioning also plays a crucial role in why many men, in particular, expect women to take the lead without directly asking for it. Society has long reinforced the idea that men should be emotionally reserved, that expressing feelings is a sign of weakness, and that pursuing someone too openly can make them seem desperate. Instead, they are taught to maintain a cool, detached demeanor, believing that the right person will make the effort for them. This results in a passive approach, where they send mixed signals rather than taking clear action. However, there is another layer to this game that is more strategic. Some individuals use ambiguity as a form of control. By not making their intentions clear, they keep the other person engaged and guessing. When someone has to constantly analyze behavior, wonder about the next step, and put in extra effort to keep the interaction going, it creates a dynamic where one person is in pursuit while the other holds emotional leverage. This is especially common in situations where a person enjoys the validation of attention but does not want to offer real, emotional investment in return. The silent game thrives on emotional uncertainty. Whether intentional or subconscious, it places the responsibility of effort, decision-making, and clarity on the other person. This can lead to frustration, exhaustion, and even self-doubt, making the recipient question if they are imagining the interest, if they need to try harder, or if they are simply not enough. But relationships should not be built on decoding unspoken signals. They should be founded on mutual effort, communication, and respect. Being on the receiving end of the silent game can be emotionally draining and frustrating. It creates a dynamic where one person is left guessing, constantly questioning their own perceptions and feeling responsible for making things move forward. Instead of experiencing a natural flow of connection, they are stuck in a loop of overanalyzing vague behaviors, trying to interpret mixed signals, and waiting for someone who refuses to take the initiative. This imbalance not only affects their emotional well-being, but can also deeply impact their self-esteem, making them feel unworthy, confused, or even desperate for clarity. One of the most damaging aspects of this game is the anxiety it creates. The uncertainty of not knowing where you stand with someone can trigger a constant need for reassurance. Since the person playing the silent game neither fully engages nor completely disengages, the one on the receiving end is left wondering, did I do something wrong? Are they interested or not? Should I reach out again, or am I bothering them? This back and forth state of mind can lead to emotional exhaustion, where every small action, like a viewed story, a liked post, or a short reply, feels like a puzzle piece in a frustrating game with no clear rules. It also fosters a toxic cycle of overinvestment. When someone is always the one making the effort, they start to believe that if they just try harder, they might get the validation or clarity they are seeking. This can lead to chasing behavior, where they lower their standards, accept breadcrumbs of attention, and continue to invest in a person who gives very little in return. The more they chase, the more power the silent player has, reinforcing the idea that they are the one in control of the dynamic. Over time, this imbalance can deeply impact self-worth and confidence. Constantly having to guess someone's feelings or prove your value in a one-sided dynamic can lead to self-doubt. Instead of recognizing that the problem lies in the other person's lack of effort, the one being played often internalizes the issue, believing that they are not interesting, attractive, or good enough to warrant clear communication and direct action. This mindset can carry over into other relationships, making them more prone to accepting similar treatment in the future. Another major effect of the silent game is that it prevents genuine emotional connection. A strong, healthy relationship requires mutual investment, trust, and open communication. However, when one person is forced to carry the weight of the interaction while the other remains distant and unresponsive, real intimacy never develops. Instead of feeling safe and valued, the one on the receiving end is left in a constant state of insecurity, unable to build a meaningful connection. Ultimately, the silent game creates a power imbalance where one person is in control while the Other is left feeling uncertain and emotionally drained. No one deserves to be in a relationship, or even a potential relationship, where they are constantly questioning their worth. A true connection should never require decoding silence. It should be built on mutual clarity, effort, and respect. When you find yourself trapped in the silent game, constantly waiting for someone else to take action, it's important to ask, is this worth my time, energy, and emotional well-being? The answer, more often than not, is no. A dynamic where one person is always guessing and overcompensating, while the other remains passive or indifferent, is not the foundation of a fulfilling relationship. Instead of chasing after someone who refuses to show clear interest, it's crucial to step back and assess whether their behavior truly aligns with what you deserve. One of the biggest mistakes people make in this situation is assuming that effort equals value, believing that if they just try a little harder, prove themselves a little more, or decode the signals correctly, they will finally win the other person's attention. But relationships should not be games to be won. A connection should be mutual, with both people contributing equally. If someone is making you feel like you have to fight for their attention, chances are they're simply not as invested as you are. It's also essential to recognize that the silent game is often not accidental. While some people genuinely struggle with emotional expression or fear of rejection, others deliberately use silence and ambiguity as tools of control. When someone keeps you in a state of uncertainty, they maintain power over the dynamic. You become the one constantly reaching out, adjusting your behavior to their inconsistent signals, and making excuses for why they don't take initiative. This is not love or interest, it's manipulation, whether conscious or subconscious. Another critical factor to consider is emotional availability. Even if the person playing the silent game does have feelings for you, their inability or unwillingness to act on those feelings speaks volumes. A truly emotionally available person will not leave you in a position where you have to question their intentions. They will make an effort, communicate clearly, and show up for you in ways that make you feel secure. If someone's silence is forcing you to carry all the emotional weight of the connection, they are simply not in a place where they can offer you a healthy relationship. Beyond the emotional toll, there's also the practical reality. People who want to be with you will make it known. They won't rely on subtle hints, delayed responses, or prolonged silences to keep you engaged. Instead, they will be clear about their intentions, excited to see you and willing to meet you halfway. If someone is making you doubt their interest, they are likely not the right person for you. Walking away from the silent game is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of self-respect. Instead of wasting time analyzing mixed signals, invest in relationships that offer clarity, reciprocity, and emotional security. Love should never feel like a puzzle you have to solve. If someone truly wants to be in your life, they will not make you question it. Escaping the silent game starts with a shift in mindset. You are not responsible for deciphering someone else's unclear intentions or carrying the entire weight of a relationship. If someone consistently leaves you guessing, waiting, or feeling like you have to prove your worth, the healthiest thing you can do is step away and focus on relationships that bring you clarity and emotional security. Walking away is not about giving up. It's about valuing yourself enough to demand mutual effort and respect. The first step in breaking free from this cycle is recognizing the pattern. If you found yourself in similar situations before, where you're the one always initiating, chasing, and feeling emotionally drained, it's important to acknowledge that this is not how healthy relationships function. A connection should not be built on decoding mixed signals. It should feel natural, reciprocal, and emotionally fulfilling. When someone continuously leaves you in a state of doubt, take it as a sign that they are either emotionally unavailable or not as invested as you are. Either way, they are not the right match. Setting boundaries is crucial. Once you recognize that you're caught in this dynamic, you need to make a conscious decision to stop playing the game. This means no longer overanalyzing their actions, no longer excusing their lack of effort, and no longer investing energy in someone who isn't meeting you halfway. Instead of waiting for them to take the initiative, shift your focus back to yourself, your needs, your happiness, and your emotional well-being. If they truly care and are capable of healthy communication, they will step up. If they don't, that's your answer. A key part of breaking free from this pattern is practicing emotional detachment. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means refusing to let someone else's inconsistency dictate your self-worth. When you stop responding to their lack of effort with increased effort on your part, you reclaim your power. You stop chasing and start attracting. The less you tolerate half-hearted connections, the more space you create for people who genuinely value and respect you. Another essential step is learning to embrace direct communication, both in how you express yourself and what you expect from others. If someone is playing the silent game, you can choose to address it openly. I'm not interested in guessing games. If you want to be in my life, I need clear communication and mutual effort. This not only sets a standard, but also filters out those who are unwilling or unable to meet your needs. Finally, focus on building connections that are based on honesty, consistency, and mutual effort. Surround yourself with people who bring peace instead of confusion, who show up for you without hesitation, and who make you feel secure instead of anxious. A relationship should never leave you questioning your worth. It should reinforce it. To see. The end of the day, the silent game is only powerful if you choose to participate. The moment you stop engaging with those who keep you in a cycle of uncertainty, you open the door for real, fulfilling, and emotionally healthy relationships. Choose clarity, choose self-respect, choose real love,